I think one of the biggest problems in this current era is these catchphrases, simplification of language, easily transferred little tidbits of information, like pizza, for example. That was a beautiful pizza, by the way. New York pizza was very, very good. But do you reckon everybody called pizza pizza? Or do you think there was like 1,000 different names for pizza for a long time, and then somebody, slowly but surely, it became pizza? Now that works for pizza. Mind you, the Italians will claim that it doesn't, because that gives license to put the word pizza on shit. Not that that was shit, that was beautiful. But there are shit pizzas. But what I'm trying to say is that these simplifications of language, so that being a great example. Another one that's been thrown around for the last, well, forever, but specifically for the last 5 years, is 2 words: far right. Far right. Far right. Now, if you imagine that we have a democracy and we have the left wing, more socialist leaning, we have the right wing, they say more conservative leaning, but when they say far right, they mean Nazis, because they were the best example of what you would describe as far right. Now, I would say that both these extremes of the left and the right need to be broken again, because of course they do, because we don't all shuffle around in 3 modes. There is a lot more going on. And the way that I would divide the far is the far right, impetuous, people that want to do it quickly. And then there is the far right, slow and patient conservatism. Now this section, which is completely opposed to the far right, quick moving, Nazi-esque shit, this should be broken down. I wouldn't even call it far right, but you would, because that's the only word you're describing. But this slow but steady right-wing conservative policy means people that don't gamble at all. They do not gamble one little bit. Everything they do is 100%. They don't care how long it takes, and they will get their projects done. Now, the crazy thing that happens with this section, especially with the back and forth between the left and the right, there is actually an opposing left wing, slow but steady, who I'm quite aligned with. And so really what we find here is I have more in common with a left wing, slow and steady, tortoise mentality, as a right wing conservative, slow and steady, tortoise strategy, no gambling, than I do with the far right, let's get it done tomorrow. Because global things cannot be gambled upon. Yet we have an entire market, left and right, all these people that are just like, we need to do the thing. That's making up the majority of the PR, because when you don't gamble, you don't need to do PR. The proof is in the pudding. It will be seen. It is 100% possible to lasso a giant iceberg. For starters, break off a giant iceberg in 1986, make sure that it lands in British territory in 2025, drag that fucking thing to a sufficient territory, chop it up and distribute it around the world, and drag it on land to make rivers go up upstream, uphill, with big cables, and make ice trains that don't need rails because they just slide on the fucking ground and they melt as they go, and you plant where they melt. They make canals by their very movement. They will make a road to wherever you need to go. Now, anyone here can prove me wrong. Anyone here can say, no, Shannon, that's not going to work. Of course it's going to work. Nothing about it is difficult. The same as my salmon thing. You can make a salmon pen that's like an underwater parachute connected to a cable, and let's go fly a kite. A bit like the Southern Cross looks like a kite. That thing will generate power as you put a generator on the other end of the cable, and then it collapses on itself and you tow it back in with, I don't know, 1/10 the power. So you've made 90% of your electricity for free, and then you bring it back with salmon and it's all fucking clean of the bays. All these things are possible when you don't gamble. And the reason I'm making all this noise now is because all the gamblers have made the world basically about to explode. Not by fucking global warming, although yes, and not by pollution, although yes, but by just constant degradation, constant lowering the society, which then allows all the negative shit to rise to the surface. And that is the only thing that can stop the slow conservative people that have done their homework, that have done all their things that are guaranteed to get over the line, that are, you know what I mean, that do it so efficiently that as society keeps pushing into this inflation, it will appear like magic, and it will make such a large amount of money from such a small amount of money that it will make you fucking want to die, because it's just called hard work and dedication and discipline and focus. And it's what we're not getting taught. Focus isn't necessarily laser focus and being able to do schoolwork. Focus can mean staying true to your ideals and not getting distracted by drinking, by gambling, by investing, which is basically gambling, by media, by gossip, by race wars, by hatred, by, you know, discrimination, by all these things. All that stuff, they're the tools of the people that want to get there quickly and do no work. They're the vast middle, the middlemen of the world. They exist on the left, they exist on the right. We've just seen what happens when the left goes fucking bonkers and they gamble with their fucking crazy left side. The person who has a fucking veggie garden in the back, who votes for Labor, who's like whatever, left leaning, I'm all with you. I just want to make sure that while you're doing that, there isn't 700 immigrants that are going to shoot you in the back of the head and take your garden. That's all I've ever been doing. Because once I'm finished doing all this conservative planning, building, actually moving the money around and the permission around and the, you know, the professions around, making the deal, the art of the deal, then I will join you in having a small garden at the back of my house, and I'll ride my push bike around and do all the stuff. But we cannot get projects that actually make sense, that won't lead to destabilization, that won't lead to fucking communist revolutions and basically you being shot in the back of the head, without doing this work that exists on the right side. It is conservative money. The reason I am doing what I'm doing that will make me a ridiculous amount of money is not for the money. I have done lots of things for money. Lots. I have worked my whole life for money and I've never had any. I did this to save my life, and I made sure that I made money whilst doing it. Very different. This isn't greed. This isn't power. It's not anything like that. In fact, any time with any power, I am trying at all times to be like, get the fuck away from me. Anything to do with fame, get the fuck away from me. Anything to do with anything, get the fuck away from me. I want to shift the world in such a large way that the conservative, long-looking approach doesn't have to be insured against absolute catastrophe on a social scale, not on an environmental scale. The environmental scale is like we're all in that together. The social scale is that group there wants to kill you and rape your children and steal your fucking land. That is what I am most trying to prevent. And there isn't some fucking metric of virtuosity in which you help every single person. And if you aren't letting them into your house every day, then why are you running or expecting the country to run like that? Do you know what I mean? If you're voting for this and if you're supporting the parties that are just basically ringing the dinner bell for some of the most war-torn individuals, which means they're going to be relentless and they're going to beat you, to just bring them in, then why don't you have a soup kitchen in your house? Why don't you rent your car out in some socialist fucking barter economy that you create? Yeah, why don't you teach for free on the weekends or do any of these things? Government is not a fucking ATM. It is filled with people like me that make responsible decisions, and we don't say much until your policies start bringing this shit in the back door, which means that we leave. And when we leave, they come and they shoot you in the back of the head and they start gardening in your garden and they start sleeping next to your wife and your children. And that's what happens. I'm sorry to fucking tell you all. So you can argue about all these things. I'm not sure on nuclear. It sounds like a vector for attack to me, but on the flip side, being a conservative far-right person, it sounds like maybe it's a good idea because then we will have a stockpile of nuclear weapons, which makes us be able to throw our weight around a little bit more than we have been. So if the real reason is to have a big stockpile of uranium and make use of it, then yeah, nuclear is okay. But I haven't heard enough about anything. And I wouldn't dare say that my alternative is going to replace it. So I'm actually clearly trying to sell. I have a solar thermal concept to do with making glass, which isn't patented. I just have to continuously keep working to show that I'm commercializing that idea, because this is now work. This is PR and marketing, which is what all the government is using to do everything. So that's what protects my patent. And because I just gifted the concept to the Tasmanian government, now the Tasmanian government can protect that patent because it's in its interest to protect that patent. But those two technologies are in direct competition with nuclear. But as I said, I don't know enough about nuclear to make a call. And so I won't get in the ring. And I will trust that there has been enough research, there is enough stop ends, and that there is more than likely a reason that isn't being broadcast, like a security reason, like having power security. We have nuclear submarines. The fact that we can have a nuclear secured infrastructure with a possible unpublished infrastructure, I would say is probably right about on track with what we need. Because the one thing my technologies are not good at, the one thing that wind and solar is not good at, is it's very easily sabotaged. Very easily sabotaged. Whereas nuclear is more concentrated, harder to sabotage, harder to shut off, the supply lines aren't there, and it's an act of war. If you take out some solar panels, no one's going to fucking drop a nuke on you. You attack a nuclear power station, you've just started a nuclear war. So with that, yeah, I would support nuclear. Because I would say that anyone would be insane to attack a nuclear station, whereas those wind farms and those solar panels, that's just going to be cannon fodder from drones. They're just, you know what I mean? There's a million ways to break that shit. Even both of my technologies, very easy to break and shut off. The cable one with the fish is a little bit kind of harder. But yeah, I still support nuclear. But that's the main thing, is these terms, these snippets, these little taglines. They don't work. And they make the water muddy. Because it's just not like, and even if I broke it down as purely non-ready, I'm going to be as cold and calculated as I can. Not that I am like that, but I just will be. Because that's what you all would consider me to be anyway. It doesn't make sense to exterminate these people. It creates more trouble. And the supply chain I've just set up, like how big is that population? They don't have any water, and I'm now selling them water. Yeah, so that makes me money. It gives them what they need. And in the process, there will be guarantees that they replant their region. So that's like what you're doing in your backyard, except I'm doing it in a desert, in a giant fucking desert. And I'm making sure that thousands of people don't fucking die, because the plan is very long. It's intergenerational. As lots of generations have all pieced together this plan for me to get to here. This isn't a 5% deposit idea. This is a every single piece of me idea. This is my life on the line idea. This is a multi-generation. This is my father sitting in silence and watching the world turn to shit for multiple decades, and then to die alone, broken and fucking ignored. That's what it takes to move the fucking needle in this thing. It doesn't take a fucking sign. It doesn't take a fucking pamphlet or a flyer or a petition or a fucking busy bee or any of the shit that you think it does, although I'm in support of it all at the local level. But I guess I would like the support in exchange, because I haven't been flying around the world in private jets. I haven't been fucking spending billions on watches and fucking prostitutes and cocaine and fucking shit, because I didn't have fucking time. And I had to stay off the radar to drop this bomb, which is a water bomb, on them, to then move the entire thing. So it's like, trust me, I am 7 times more fucking anarchist fucking gangster than you are. I'm 7 times more of a fucking lunatic fucking hippie than you are. And I'm also the most conservative right-wing fucking piece of fucking shit that you could ever fucking imagine. And those two things can coexist. Every single one of these colonizers planted thousands and thousands of trees. They were very, very concerned with their environment. They brought botanists, they brought fucking naturalists, they brought everyone to study all these things. The English are the most fucking horticultural, maybe the Dutch, most horticulturally advanced fucking society that we've ever had. Unfortunately, the aristocracy and the elites were a little bit more concerned in flowers, and this applies in Holland as well. This is the tulip crisis, and that is a bad event. But I'm not that. I'm hundreds of years later than that, but I still have that horticultural, whatever, emphasis running through my blood, and the conservative community approach. Because what is a colony? It's a community, isn't it? That's what they were. Because everyone in England, in Ireland, in Wales, in Scotland was starving and freezing cold. And yes, an entire population of Indigenous people was almost wiped out. But that is the same story in every other region on Earth. Every other region. Hopefully, until now. Hopefully, just like the water can run uphill, and potentially we can get trees growing in that desert, which will start its own cycle of catching humid air and start its own thing over I don't know how long, but maybe we can do it really quickly, but maybe it will take a long time. Doesn't matter, we've got to do it anyway. But maybe if we can finally get water to go uphill like that, if we can bring ice to the desert, not meth, ice, frozen water, then maybe we can turn that savage snake eating its tail, maybe we can turn that, or slow it down, or stop it to a dead halt and start gardening the world as a species, rather than just in your rental, on your dole payment, on your welfare payment, whatever it is that you expect to receive praise from, and you should at a local level. But we need to stop all the bullshit. Okay? We don't all want to fucking sit around a fucking campfire and sing Kumbaya. Some people just want to get their shit done and have a place where they can escape the fucking noise of all of you people, because you fucking make so much fucking noise, you make so much fucking mess. The world has fucking slipped into a fucking degraded, disgusting fucking cesspit, and it breaks my heart to see the work of countless generations of my family not just fucking destroyed, not just fucking like disrespected, but then blaming them while you sleep under their fucking doona, under their blanket, in their buildings, in their cities, in their fucking towns, in their countries, using their language, using their law, using their education systems, using their government systems as your own personal fucking toilets. And I guess I'm just fucking sick of it. And so I decided to put my fucking, like, my actions towards rescuing the reputation of the greatest and most fucking socially driven empire that has ever existed on this planet, and that is the British Empire. So yeah, I guess you thought we were done, but we weren't. Happy Easter.